Good morning. Today is March 24th, 2025, 10:06 a.m. Alright. So, haven't been doing a video for the last few days. Been kind of busy, but also, listening to a lot of folks. So, hope everyone is seeing my hand move in lots of ways. Taking people and getting them sorted, but also increasing the fires. And as I've said before, if you know anything about fields, right, it's in layers. All the thorns and thickets, they're going to be burned, and such as most of the earth will be burned. But so shouldn't be a too long a video. I'll just kind of canvas and highlight a few things. So Curtis and Michael, two of one of my most strongest, I don't even call them believers, I call them knowers. So there's most of the body, even in the true church, like you have believers, but then you also have knowers. A knower is somebody who, right, when I speak, they hear my voice. They can confirm in the carnality side of things, such as the written word, and the only one who can fulfill the written word, which is me, I, Yahweh. And, they're moving forward with, building up the true church. Because right now, again, thousands, hundreds of thousands of Christian churches, I don't consider them mine, right? Just like the Pope, if an old man on his deathbed seeing the second coming of me, third coming technically, the Holy Spirit, in the flesh of Yeshua, Joshua, and who is the Spirit is Yahweh, YAHUWAH. So, the Pope would have happily handed me my church and then told me, oh, these are all of yours. The Father telling the real Father, right? The real Father of heaven. But that didn't happen, right? And it's for only one reason, right? Mankind's power trip. And I'm the one who ends power trips, and sometimes very gruesome and ugly ways, because for being who I am, my grander picture does not include popes with funny hats for humans to worship. It is not for pastors and preachers to think that they've got it figured out, and that their Lutheran denomination, or their Methodist, or their Catholic, or their non-denominational, or whatever the hell label is on my religion. You understand that religion is nothing more than knowing and learning about the one true God, the creator of heaven and earth. And again, when I say the one true God, it's not excluding the existence of other gods, still or in the past, but understand it all had to start somewhere. I am the seed of the divine vine, that all things have permeated from there, and all creations serve a purpose. And that's why the only one who truly deserves that praise and that worship, right, is to my name. And in the flesh, I am a steward of creation, but I am also, again, the Son of Man. So I will lead the human population, right, into glory and into correctness and into a new existence, an upgrade in your physical being, an upgrade into your intellect, because one of the things I absolutely have a great disdain for is idiocy. I do not like idiocy. I do not like people that are dumb on purpose. And it's essentially, a lot of times, it's just people not living up to their full potential, right? Out of laziness or out of distractedness. But, and this is where I have a bone to pick with many taskmasters, right? Little pharaohs, and especially the little pharaohs in churches, right? These preachers that are exalting the name Jesus. You're exalting an idol over the one true God. And even though your churches are technically mine, because that idol you're worshiping is me, but I don't look like that. And it's offensive to have graven images all around, right, that, you know, are supposedly for me, but you don't have my name right, and you don't even know what I look like. I look like me. Like, that's what I mean. You know, I am who I am, and I am what I am. And, you know, just to round out recognition, you know, for Curtis and Michael, I highly suggest you check out their channel. I'm going to see if I can't, I think I remember it, but I don't want to misstate it. Give me 1 second, and I will pull it up for you. Because they have, Curtis for sure has been with me since like the beginning. And he is one, I would say, one of my most trusted and most faithful. Because Curtis has had to endure from different angles. He's had a lot of opportunity for perspective, and he's also had a lot of opportunity to walk away. And instead of taking opportunities to walk away, he's actually gathered more strength and more proof. And now he's building the true church for me, with me. That's what I want. Like, that is the goal. That is the goal. So if anybody's out there wondering what the goal is you got to start somewhere. I am the beginning and the end. I am the Alpha. I am the Omega. Right? I am Almighty God Yahweh incarnate in the flesh. And my new name, right, is actually my old name. So the beginning is the end is the beginning. So my original name is YAHUWAH, which is a name that humanity has never known, because you've never known the one true God in the flesh. All things that you understand are separated by, at the minimum, 2,000 years ago, which is why a lot of your history and stuff is the way it is. All right, let me see if I can't find the name of Curtis and Michael's group, because I would really like you guys to check it out. And see if I can't find it real quick. I should have had it written down. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I will find it. I will find it. There it is. That's what I thought it was. River Branch. Alright. And Olive Branch Fellowship. So, both of those. One is Curtis and one is Michael, but they also do joint sessions together, and I love their Q&A. And to be quite frank, if a lot of the true church wants to take some notes out of their playbook, I highly suggest getting with them. Because if you want to talk about two individuals that I can tell you with 100% certainty, I owe a crown to them. And the words good and faithful servant are so far below how much I feel about them in terms of all things, like their hearts of perseverance. Michael moved from a different country because of my coming. That is the level of dedication and service and heart that through all things, through all trials, through all fires, through all everything, I directly have them in my heart. And it depends on who you are watching this, right? Because most of the world is not connected to me. You don't know me. And to be honest, you're out there in the wind. You know, you're not really saved. You're praying to idols. You essentially work into the Catholic Roman beast system in all of its branches, right? And it's not my church. I'm going to burn her with fire, because I am the true church. In here, right here is the true church. I am the seed of religion. I am the God of gods, the King of kings, the Lord of lords. I am, and have always been, and will always be. So, again, Curtis and Michael, if you guys, this video should find you well, sincerely, much love, and, want to start directing some flow your way. Because again, I don't want this to ever come across as any kind of competition. Every one of my churches have something unique to bring. So instead of thinking of my churches as some, uniform flea market of just peanut sales, I want you to think as my true church is more like a market. And what one section may do very well, they may fail or fall in others. And so the reason and especially with Michael and Curtis, is not only do they not hide away from my coming, they do not shy away from my name, they dive deeper. And I love how Curtis says, come into the river. The Judaism and the Christianity need to both come into the river and wash yourselves, because both sides of that riverbank are dirty. Come into that river in the middle and let me, your Lord God, in the flesh, the God of gods and the King of kings, let me cleanse you and baptize you with my fire, with the Ruach of the Holy Spirit, and I will rebirth your spirit. And when you come out of that rebirth, you are no longer in a position of being on your knees or in a prone position. Instead, you stand up and you put on the full armor of Elohim. You put on the full armor of me with the assistance of my Holy Ruach to aid you in all things. So if you want to think of it kind of the Ruach, I can put it on a bit of an autopilot. So when a person fulfills certain things in the heart or in the mind or in their knowledge, I have the Ruach then unlock something for them. So kind of that autopilot feature, right? When you have made a true repentance like Curtis and Michael do and continue to do, by the way. So literally, they are in the top 1% of my true church. And because number one, they have my heart. They have my heart. Number two, they're ministering to either me, the king, directly, which I love. And I will listen to Curtis or Michael, and others almost on a constant basis, because I can feel the heart connection, and it does nothing but strengthen my relationship with them, even though right now it's only in spirit, but again, knowing I'm here, right? These things help my heart bind with them, if you will, right? So it's that spiritual marriage that we're strengthening, and the more confidence they can get. So it's like if they give me 10% confidence, then my Ruach, I'm going to go and give them now 50% more of whatever they need to build that confidence, because I want others to be able to see them, and I want others to come to their churches and say, I see your confidence in the Lord. I see your knowledge of the Torah. I see your fearless, your fearlessness in the face of so much evil and so much wicked in the world, and churches that could care less about the true God, and they only care about their pulpit, they only care about their collection plate, and then they only care about protecting the falsities to keep them employed, versus that pastor, which I'm working through the Ruach in Dade City, Florida, and he knows my coming, he knows I'm here, and he has a great heart for me. I mean, this is not Curtis or Michael, this is another church, but and he's teetering right now this Sunday if he's going to roll out the news of my second coming and all that therein. And he has been upset to the point of tears, where he's not even sure how his church is going to handle it. And because it's not what they expected. The church for 2,000 years has been misled. They've been lied to. Doctrine's been twisted and interpreted wrongly. People have hugely made a massive misstep, disobeying my 10 commandments. That is the foundation of society. Why would I, God, instruct a human being to be lawless when my entire creation is built upon foundations and principles that require obedience to goodness? Because when you have obedience to goodness, you get to produce things of the honeybee, right? Pure, beautiful, blissful honey, clean, purposeful, healthy, versus, seeking matters of your own heart, right? Which is the Jesus, the waiting on an idol, waiting on fictitious narratives, right? But you're telling a beautiful story for people to come and hear it and give you money. But that's not true. Only the devil works in lies. Only Hasatan can work a ruach that's not me in favor of those things. And I'll tell you, is it leads to death. Because if someone can get tickled behind the ear and they're like, I'm happy with the devil's ruach and I'm fine with my idolatry, then you essentially are pleasing your flesh. But that is not what's going to get you to heaven, right? That's not what's going to get you to heaven. And if someone like that, and I could drop names, but I'm not, but people like that, right? And so let's look at that. So let's look at millions of Americans or Christians around the world, right? If someone has never told them about the true name and they've done the 10 Commandments and they still obey and things like that, right? Then that's going to be looked at for a rebirth in the new earth state. Because I would rather take that person who just can't understand me right now, and they're like, I'm not going to work a purpose for you, God. I'm just too deep in idolatry. I love this Jesus guy. I love Christmas. I love Hasatan and all his tricks, and they don't know it. They're deceived. Well, I'm not going to destroy that person for hell. I'm not going to put them in the abyss, and I'm not going to just, transfer their energy. But instead, I'll have them reborn in a new earth state where that generation of children are going to grow up, and it's going to be a commonplace thing where their mothers and fathers, as they're teaching the Bible, they're going to be able to accurately and confidently identify who their Lord God is. And those parents are also going to know, if I ever get a temple, they're going to know where their kids are going to go to visit the temple, to have a feast with their Lord, right? Their Messiah, their God on earth in the flesh. And I'll preside over feasts. I'll, even do specific wedding events for, congregations and people that I find in my personal cabinet. Speaking of cabinet, Curtis and Michael, both of you, I'm awarding you a position in my official cabinet of governance. And I look forward to being able to do a specific video as the carnal witness, but also I'll send you something through the Ruach, elevate your spirits, give you that confidence, because you guys are checking all the boxes, your green lights, and my heart is literally, it's like a prick to my heart, but in a good way. Like, it really touches me how confident you guys are moving forward, because you guys, when I hear congregations like Curtis, like Michael, Mark, Paulie, Pastor Peter, Martinez, I'm going to miss a few, Bill Cloud, you guys are great too. Parable of the Vineyard, you guys are doing great in some ways. But man, you guys are dealing with a lot of upheaval with some of the just kind of outside stuff, and I hate to say it, but my heart kind of breaks, for Adam, because, Adam, I know your heart really well, quite literally. You are a created being, so I hate to see you sometimes so flustered, and I hate to see that you kind of get internally angry. Don't lose heart and don't lose hope. And I ask you, put more on me. Like, don't try to be so many things, versus knowing who I am, knowing who your true God is, right? And knowing that I am all powerful and I'm not limited to anything. So all I ask, and Lyndon too, you guys don't need to take upon so much stress, and do not let so much of the noise of the brothers rattle you. Understand that if I'm talking about the market, so instead of it being a marketplace, but everyone's just selling peanuts, right? Just peanuts. I have Curtis and Michael, they're on a mission for me. They're on a divine mission from God Almighty himself, me, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah, right? Same thing with Mark and Polly. Same thing with, Adam, with Lyndon, with Bill. I got others, but again, everyone's purpose and place is going to look a little different. So the biggest thing is in that market, we're going to have a stand of, someone's going to have static understanding. Another person may have more spiritual connection understanding. One person may have, Torah teaching, like, Rabbi Steve Berkson in Clearwater. He's also in my 1%. I love Rabbi Steve. Again, same thing, right? He doesn't cower to man's whims, right? He leans more into me, his Elohim, his mighty one, his God, the one who already has, right? Rabbi Steve and all the ones I mentioned, like all of you guys are what, if you wanted to have an official seal of being saved and what that looks like, you're reborn. But not only that is, I know you personally, and I've already transcribed your names, your beings, and your light bodies in heaven, in the abode. So sweareth I, the Lord God, Yahweh, Elohim, Yahuwah. Because the thing is, not only are they walking the walk, but they're leading the true church to me, which is the single most weighted task. It is the oldest task, and by far the most prestigious one to receive a crown of glory for me personally. Because at the end of the day, I don't really care how much Bible you know. I don't really care how much you know of some of the biblical writers or even the historical times or what this feast was for. The number one thing is knowing me, your God, your Elohim. And when you say I'm not here, then that tells me you don't believe in the one true God, because I'm it. Or that tells me that you don't have faith and confidence in me, in which case I'll tell you to go learn something and then come back, right? Because if you're trying to get past the image, then that's a problem of the flesh, and that is a sin of the flesh. You've made graven images in your mind to represent holiness, and I'm the only image that comes with Yahweh, Elohim, YAHUWAH, Yeshua, right? The vessel, the flesh of the living God in one, period. You worship Yahweh, you're worshiping me. You worship Yeshua, you're worshiping me. You worship YAHUWAH, you're worshiping me. 3 in 1. So again, right, if any church is not leading someone to my name, my true name, Joshua, YAHUWAH, Joshua, right? Yahweh, or even YAHUWAH. I don't like people saying Jehovah because it sounds hokey. I've said that, right? And again, if you're developing a relationship, that's what I mean, right? So if the task was, hey, adopted kid, start learning about your adopted father. And then the kid comes back and goes, oh, he works here. He, his boss said this, like, but what's your father's name? Oh, I don't know that. Well, what's his favorite thing to do? Oh, I don't know that. Well, so you don't know anything about your father, so you failed your homework assignment. Yeah, I guess, right? It's a lot of you teachers and pastors right now. That's where you're at because you're terrified. Number one, you don't want to get it wrong. Number two, you think I'm the Antichrist. I'm not the Antichrist. Number three, you're stubborn in heart, and that's what I mean. Like, I'm not going to keep fighting with these fake churches. I'm either going to burn them down, I'm going to remove the life from you, and I'll have you rebirthed in a newer state. And then as you're growing up as a young child, you're going to have memory recall. Not clearly, but you'll have some level of memory recall where you're going to have a familiarity. And to be honest, some of you most stubborn ones today, right? Like, I'm not even going to say names. You guys know exactly who I'm talking about. I've made it very clear. Some of these mega pastors, right? You guys are way too big for your britches, and I'm going to have to cut you down. Like, because I'm not going to have the disrespect, especially now, right? When I'm moving forward with my agenda with or without you. That's what I mean. Like, this train is pulling out of the station, and those who want to stand on the platform and give me the finger and say, praise Jesus, well, you're standing on the platform and we're moving on. And we'll continue to move on. And then you'll die inconsequentially. Fire, floods, hail, rain, tornado, hurricanes, many fires. I'm going to ratchet the fires up too. So I think right now we're on about 12% of canvassing fires. I'm hoping to get about 25% before mid-April. So if that gives you any kind of inclination of what to expect. This squirrel here listening to everything I say. You see what I mean? My creation, my animals are always around me. Wild animals. I got squirrels. I got my raven, Biloricus. I got my bees. Got my butterflies. I got raccoons. I got every animal you can imagine, even living in the city, that all funnel into my area. Because even when I'm speaking, they are gravitated towards it. I mean, me and Asher can be on the back porch just having coffee and talking, and I'll have animals coming everywhere because they know my voice. They know their maker. They may not be able to put a picture with that. They may not be able to do any of these things, but they know one thing. They hear my voice and they are comforted. So this is a good test to know if you hear my voice and you're irritated or agitated, then you're probably a demonic seed. That's where you yourself should, in a way, go like, okay, I know I'm sick. I'm hearing my God's voice and I'm angered, or I'm not believing, or I'm not even knowing my maker, my God. Then you're probably the devil's seed. Then you need to find a brother like Michael, like Curtis, like Rabbi Steve, like Pastor Peter, Bill Cloud, Mark and Polly, Adam, Lyndon. All these people I'm naming have hundreds, some of them have thousands of other congregants, what we're calling our family. And then you as a demonic seed can at least have that ability to say, okay, like I get I'm sick, right? It's like the dog acknowledging he has rabies and saying, okay, I know my actions are rabid. Like, this is not natural to not know your God. This is not natural to have such a pull away from God. Instead, the dog would be able to recognize his rabies and then go to the vet himself and say, hey, I've got rabies, can you help me? Now, we know in the carnal way, right, no dog would ever knock on the door to a vet's office and say, I have rabies, which is why it is so important for the names I've named to let's make that name list bigger, because we need those doctors, those spiritual doctors that are working on my behalf, to get out there and find any seeds that can be turned and told the truth. Because if you tell someone the truth and they reject it, you've at least done that. So don't try to be, a usurper, or worse, a sheep who cannot discern my voice from a crowd of falsities. As so many of man's churches refuse me, the miracle of this age is certainly being able to pull my sheep out of the wolf's den. And false shepherds and stubborn, stiff-necked pastors, teachers, preachers, rabbis, especially the Pope, bishops, the Catholic Church, I've written off a long time ago. But the thing is, they're mostly blind to me, their God. So it is up to my apostles, it is up to my disciples. So if you want to talk about the Bible, well, in the Third Testament, so again, I'm using these names because I want you guys to know you're my apostles now. So when you reference John, Luke, Mark, if you're referencing, even James, right? Like all these players that you guys read, you are the new Johns. You are the new Thomases. You are the new apostles. And you guys are going to be 10 times better than they ever did. Because here's truth. The way the New Testament tells the story, it tells the story of not God. It doesn't tell the story the correct way. The correct way was the Spirit of Yahweh, Yahweh himself, was born into the flesh. And that flesh was named YAHUWAH, Yeshua, right? Which is God with us, the Emmanuel, as Gabriel said. And all things there were to fulfill as they were. And of course, the work done on the tree, right? Christians, you may know it as the cross. In reality, right, it was essentially a tree that didn't have any branches. So it was a stump. But anyway, that's beside the point. The biggest task right now is being able to continually give my Ruach to my elect and my chosen to be able to have the moxie, have the strength, the courage, and the confidence to go up to, you know, your Jack Hibbs and knock on that door and say, God has been pretty upset with you because he loves you and he loves your church and he wants you guys to do great and mighty things that you can't even fathom, but he can't have it when you're teaching his name wrongly. He can't have it when we're married to the New Testament that was written down wrongly. It was written down wrongly because even so many of those that said they knew me or were close to me were not. And they were not confident. They were not confident enough to call me God. They were confident enough to call me Messiah or Son of Man or, you know, even the Christ. But they were not confident to say, this is God. Even though that's what I said, right? How long have we been and what do I have to do? What miracle do I need to do today to prove to this heart? And that's another thing. I've done miracles way beyond what I should have done. And that's what I mean. Like, I've got to get out of the display and show, and I've got to keep moving on with my agenda. So, you know, because right now, you know, people are asking, where's Messiah? Where's Mashiach? Where's God? All these things. Well, if I were to speak out to a crowd today, if I were to go up to the park right here, and I put a video out and said, I'm going to be speaking at, you know, this Apollo Beach park right on, you know, in Florida. If I were to go and speak out at that, you know, at that beach or something, or even go to an existing crowd, they would not know who I was. Because 98% of all the churches do not know me. They do not know their God. And especially those who have never physically seen me in a video or whatever, they know even less about me. So, like, that's kind of what I mean is, you know, how am I supposed to speak to a crowd or to do anything when I'm not known yet, right? How do you make the one true God known? Well, you got to start with those who are at least familiar with the idea, right? Which is your Christians, your your Jews, your Israelites. And that's another thing, you know, pat on the back to my Israelite crew. I mean, you guys can be a little rough and rowdy, but I tell you, you know, it's hard bargain to find hearts that, you know, the black Israelites have a heart of gold a lot of times, really. Like, you guys have some of the strongest prayers, some of the strongest worship, and I mean, you know, well done. You know, there are some, and the thing is, I like that also, that action too. Like, you guys really go out and, I mean, you pour your heart and your soul into the mission, and I appreciate that, and that is, again, worthy of a crown. My only thing is, some of you can be a little overbearing. You know, try not to breathe too much fire, but definitely keep it in the lines, keep speaking truth, because, you know, you guys make up a huge crowd of the second Exodus, you know, when we actually gather. And that's the thing, right? The physical Exodus, the second Exodus, is going to physically happen when the temple's erected, because we're going to have one, hopefully in America, that I'll be able to lead and, you know, bring everyone in together, and we'll have a great feast, and we'll do some miracles, work some wonders, and begin the new earth state, right? But at the same time, I'm going to have to destroy everything that's outside of my safety zone. Same thing will be with Israel. I mean, Israel's under divine protection right now. But again, right, Israel falls for the same stuff, you know, Christians, and the stumbling block for the Jews, right, is the idol of Jesus. Because if the Jews were to even abstract the 15% truth that's found in the King James, nonetheless, King James butchered that even more. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you take what was originally intended and performed as truth versus what was even recorded, they look totally different. Which is why I'm not a huge fan of the New Testament. Anyway, I'm getting too far out. So, yeah, so if one person in every 1,000 were given the gift of seeing me, while the 999 do not have it, it is the job of that one person to tell the 999. So if, teachers, pastors, rabbis, the Pope refuse your duty to me, your God, then I'm going to have to disown you and mark your church as a false religion and thus make you a curse. Because I have to separate the oil from the water. And I don't want to do that with a hardened heart against people. And I don't want to then ever be judged and looked at and say, well, God never gave us a chance. Like he rushed, and there was so many churches that didn't get to hear about his coming. They didn't get to hear about his name. They didn't get to hear about what his character is really like. They didn't get to hear about the things that he's been doing for the last at least 46 months. Because everything before that mark has all been personal witnesses, personal testimonies, or helping individuals out, like casting out demons for a gentleman named Brad. I did that entirely remotely. I casted demons out of his home and out of his family. I've worked a lot of big miracles, and I don't even have to be present. So, on contrary to what people think, I got some people that are in the stalls where they're like, he's too powerful, we need a mediator. Then the other people in the stalls, they're looking for a fictitious character, and they're like, well, we don't even know what he is, but we want Jesus. We want this long hair. We want this thing coming down. Like, you want things that are not true. You see what I mean? And that's kind of crappy. It's just, I don't know. It drives me crazy. But like I said, if that's the case, then, plan on dying here very soon, and then you'll be reborn. And that way, you'll be able to know me. Yeah, because here's another good point, and here's our nugget for the day, our thought for the day. When in the history of the written word has any genuine prophet said they were God Almighty? 100% of the time, if someone historically has ever claimed themselves to be God, and they weren't, because it wasn't me, right? None of their prophecies, would come true. That's the first thing. But they wouldn't stand, right? People that have done that in the past, like, historically, they don't live long. Like I'm saying, I, the true living God, cut that out quickly, because I don't need a bunch of people going around saying they're God. There's a bunch of people that go around and say there's some kind of Messiah. I really don't care. Like, I'm a lot bigger than a Messiah. I'm God Almighty. I'm Yahweh Elohim. I'm wanting to restore my earth, kill evil, destroy it forever, eliminate it, bring peace to the earth, entirely and exclusively bring down New Jerusalem. That'll also be proof of the divine realm. That'll also be your proof of afterlife. And the thing is, I won't be able to get to that point until the earth is cleared, and until I have a true church that wants it. Because frankly, if I don't get the numbers to make essentially saving earth plausible or reasonable, then it would be easier to take my remnant and then, go elsewhere. But that's not the goal. Like, the goal is absolutely, telling churches about my coming, telling them about who I really am, my real name, my character, because again, that really is the case. What I say happens because I am who I am. And that's not arguable. That's what I mean. So it's like, in a way, if you put your frame of mind like, oh, well, he's a prophet. Well, is the prophet saying that it's coming from the outside, or is it coming from the inside? All prophets have all said, oh, God is saying this, or God is doing that, right? They're the ones that pick up in the Ruach what I'm doing. Why? Because they're connected to me. Why? Because they've lived usually where they didn't go into man's money traps, right? They didn't find to be worthy of man's time or anything. And so I, as God, bless those individuals to give them my words to speak for me, right? To become my mouthpiece. Well, now I'm here in the flesh and I'm my own mouthpiece. So just things to consider. But all right, I'm going to take a quick break and we will be back. All right, and we're back for part 2. Oh, okay. Oh yeah. All right. So concluding that, and then I'll jump over to more of the world scale things. But so after just talking with Asher real quick, we were taking a quick coffee break before her meeting. Because right now for the Holy Family, it's a little difficult because I have, like Cameron, for example, he's able to ascend the realms and stuff like that, but he gets kind of freaked out about the leaving the body part. So these are also things that I'm going to have to start doing lessons on, but I don't want to progress down there without kind of the whole family. So that's where, Curtis, Michael, Bill, Pastor Peter, Rabbi Steve, Lyndon, Adam. And the thing is, there's other ones. You guys are just the ones that are freshest in my mind. Cohen, Cohen Alam Yah, you're in the same category. Because there are going to be lessons I'm going to have to teach you guys about how to essentially eject your spirit from your body. And then you'll be able to come to the realms. And as I was just talking with Ashera, is the humans in heaven. So when I'm upstairs, I'm in my God body. And so is she, and so is Cameron. And that's substantially larger than a human size. Even myself in the flesh on earth, I'm only 5'9", maybe it's maybe I'm shorter than that, 5'8", I think, compared to 36 feet tall in heaven. But humans in heaven remain 5 to 7 feet tall, so it's a pretty big difference. But again, in heaven, right, they're very happy and equipped to serve in the palace and things like that. And that's what I envision for the earth, is to be able to have my temples in all places, right? So almost like an embassy, like a holy embassy, and then a council that's made up of Jewish, Christians. Really, it's not about the race. I don't really care about race and culture so much as I care about knowing my name, knowing my truth, and knowing my purpose, pattern, and plan, and that I'm gonna assist every area willing to fall in line. But anyway, I'm just saying, I'm gonna have to do some training on these things in the near future, but we're not at our desired levels. So that's literally where, if you wake up and you strap on your shoes, right, it's like, well, what is the mission? And the mission is we need to build our numbers. It's simple. We need to build our numbers. And by building numbers, we're also going to be building confidence and other churches that might still be reluctant to come to the light side, because they're going to want to see human beings are pack animals. So you're also a herd culture. So it takes a lot of courage for those names that I've mentioned to do what they do every day, and to continue and to deepen their faith and their strength within me, because it's easy to try to discredit, disown, and whatever, right? Because then you're essentially saying, well, I'm going to take no action until, I'm going to do nothing until. Well, that's why I have to set so many things on fire, because that's motivation. That's motivation. And unfortunately, that motivation is going to overcome a lot of people. But fret not, right? If they're evil, then I'm going to put them in a spiritual prison for eternity, and they're never going to be able to deceive humans again. They're never going to be able to work their wickedness upon the earth. And trust me, on my side, in the God side of things, I'm having ups and downs as well. I'm constantly being engaged by scammers. I hate scammers. I hate people that are untruthful. I hate people that are trying to deceive others. Truly, it is against my nature 1,000%. If I am lying, so help me God, kill me right now. I'm not. That's my point. I'm not lying. And I genuinely, with all my heart and every ounce of my being, I want people to come into my safe pastures. I want people to say, all right, we're getting to know God. There's some things that are hard to swallow. There are other things that maybe we're getting. But I assure you, once we can get kind of in a good and a better spot, and we're able to do more with the kingdom physically on earth, my mood will improve. And then I also want people to know that, my anger is also in a way like that, like a mother hen in a way, protects those chicks. Like, they're under the wings, and I love all those chicks, right? I love my true church and all those therein. And then I look at the world that are nothing but wolves and nothing but just predators encircling my people, and it enrages me. And then sometimes when I see wicked and evil coming down or coming near my elect and my chosen, I've got to take it out. And I hate to say this, but I've had individuals that are in the true church have had family members die, and in the carnal way. You know, Aunt Susie was Aunt Susie, you know, for good, bad, or indifferent. Well, they didn't know that Aunt Susie could have swayed their faith in me, because the adversary is working 10 times harder through Aunt Susie, who rejected me the first time, right? So I opened Aunt Susie up for the adversary to go full reign. Because also, like an attractant, I want all my demons to be attracted to one scent, away from me and away from the true church and my congregants. So while the demons are all assembling and gathering in places, that's when I will drop a divine order and eliminate, versus those that are eating from the hidden manna, they're drinking from the wells that is I, they're praying in the true name, they're giving the witness testimony to their fellows, their brothers, their family, their friends, the true churches, right? There are thousands of churches that, you know, they need to get with the program. And that's what I mean. Like, any person who's witnessing, or an apostle or a disciple, and, you know, when I say an apostle or a disciple, you proclaim the true name, you proclaim my coming now, you follow into the 10 commandments, and you want to work a will for the one true God, for the glory of the kingdom of heaven, and for me, the king, with 100% certainty, I swear to it, I'll see you not only to the end, but I'll see you into heaven, and I'll see you into a purpose in the realms. And I tell you what, if we had like a slogan, like, you know, how companies like McDonald's like serves 1 billion a year, heaven in the realms is 100% no frowny faces, is I guess kind of what I mean. There's no one that has ever said like, man, I wish I didn't do this. Or there's no one that ever says like, you know, oh, I'm tired. Like, it's an entire different existence is what I mean. And you'll be happy you did. Because instead of having less options, you actually have more options. Instead of being limited, you're more free. Instead of being subjected to creation, because you're essentially a part of a painting, you come out of the painting and now you're standing in the floor next to God, me, and now you're looking at the painting and saying, hey, grab a paintbrush and let's paint together. Yeah, and that thing looks terrible. I tell you, I don't really eat fast food ever, and I did this weekend because we were doing something and we were like traveling, and I mean, oh gosh, one little bit of grease and it pops up on me. I'm really sensitive to like grease and stuff, so I don't try to eat much of it. Try to stay pretty healthy. Like, that's another thing I have been listening to some of the prayers of some of the children in our congregations, and I've even been sharing it with Cameron. He thinks they're funny. He can't tap into prayers yet. He can't really hear. Asher can, but usually things about babies, like that's kind of her wheelhouse. Is she can give out some babies, let me tell you. I'd say honestly, I think we have over 20 babies that she's given in like just this year alone. This year, 25. But anyway, some of the kids' prayers were funny. Like, you know, they were like, they just talked to me, and I appreciate that. And that's what I mean, like that childlike mindset. These children are not standing up in Bible school on Sunday or even Saturday, and they're going like, God, you know, they're in their own time like, what does God eat? And I laughed. I was like, at that exact moment, I literally was eating, and I was like, well, right now I'm having sun chips, whole wheat with a turkey sandwich. You know, I didn't say that back to the kid, but I just thought that was kind of funny. And that's good stuff, because I'm like, you're trying to get to know your God, like, you know. And gosh, what was her name? Olivia. I think her name was Olivia. I think she was 9 years old, and that was what she asked, and she was drawing a picture, and it was a Christian congregation. So anyway, I think she ended up drawing like not even edible food, but like greens and browns and stuff. I think it was supposed to resemble like bread on a table with some fruit or something. But anyway, point I'm saying is, entering the kingdom in a childlike state is, do not restrain my imagination, but sometimes the human being in a disheveled, unpurposeful manner right now, right? You have to, in some ways, kind of shut down fantasy in trade of the real fantasy, because there is, and that's another thing. People sometimes get acclimated to where they're at, and I was just telling Asher, I said, I've said this before, if for a perspective exercise, if I said, now I'm going to give you almost in like a movie, like this is a planet Earth, their God, but their God is not very good. Like, let's just say Planet X. Their God is not very good. Their God is very restrictive. Humans don't have freedom, and their only job is physically creating stuff for their God. And their God is very harsh, very punishing, very demeaning, but that's all those humans know. They're not in any shape or form like, well, what about God? Like, no, to them, their God is their boss, and their boss is an a-hole. And the thing is, right, their earth doesn't look anything like yours. Doesn't look even remotely. And their purpose isn't either. So I'm saying, like, that is, in my opinion, a hellish existence. And I don't want to give up any of my good people to that at a human auction. I would rather maintain my authority over the earth as your creator, as your God, as your Elohim, in the flesh, your Messiah, your Mashiach, and understand that, all these things are only going to be possible through me. And if these churches that want to reject and they want to keep playing in this sandbox, like, it's really going to be the grand I told you so, and now it's too late. And I don't want that. Like, I'm telling it now as a witness, right? Michael, mark it as a witness. Like, these things will come to pass, and I don't want to lose anybody. I don't. Politics-wise, I'm absolutely at a crossroads right now with Russia and Ukraine. I am, honestly, my heart has hardened towards Moscow. I put it in President Trump to approach Moscow in a very humble way, but also a very smart way. And again, it doesn't sit right with me how President Putin has dealt with my president, because again, at the end of the day, Israel's mine, America's mine, and the leaders of both countries answer to me, God Almighty. So I put that in their heart to do these things. So again, I would like, we're not backing people in a political way. We're not contributing to campaigns. We're not putting Trump stickers on our trucks. That's not what I mean. It's simply know that I'm God, and that all these things are going to transpire for the betterment of my kingdom and my people and myself. But yeah, I think the next step with Moscow is going to have to be playing hardball, and that's not going to look good for the earth. I still can't stand the EU. Again, they're trying to blame, and they're trying to play this humanitarian and this and that and the other. No. Demonic evil people that are in positions of power doesn't eliminate the fact that they're still dumb and demonic. And they're going to die one way or the other. But remember, I said I have to keep a lot of them alive right now because they're like bait. Speaking of bait, because I'm not going to just ramble on about all the things of the world. I think you guys can turn on the news and see the state we're in and see what's happening. So, granted, as I am here and, have really no income streams, which I'm going to actually be selling honey. So I've had some protect bees, they're honey bees, but I've actually had some bees as a form of protection around my house. And instead of letting them just kind of hang out there without a purpose and for me to be unable to collect the honey, because it's just to be a pain in the ass. So instead, I'm actually getting a beehive, a bee box, and I'm going to have my first box this weekend. So I'm going to move my bees, and I'm going to put them in the box and start collecting honey. And these are really special bees, because these are not only direct creations from me from heaven, but for this time. But the bees, they should produce some of the best honey that mankind has ever tasted. But I am not going to have enough beehives to like mass produce it or anything. It's going to be probably just mason jars, like 12-ounce mason jars. I'll do a label, and the name of the honey brand I'm thinking is going to be Bee Best Honey. So BEE Best Honey, Bee Best Honey. It works a couple different ways. Instead of bee, it's like the best honey, or Bee Best Honey. Right? There's just different ways you can do it. And then it's a God's Garden Grow is what I think my overall label would be. But nothing crazy. I'm not, obviously that's not a source of my primary income. It's mainly something that I want to do for like congregations, and I like to be able to, sell it to our members. Not only do you get something that was created by God, but you get my personal honey from my personal beehive. Like, I think that's really cool. Give you kind of a future look, right? The land of milk and honey. So I think that could be something new I'd like to start as a new tradition that's not one that's been started without me. So doing a milk and honey service, I think would be really fun, especially for the kids. So, anyway, to be updated on that, I'm just really excited that, like I said, I have the bees. I've got more species of animals on like, I don't even have a quarter acre. I have less than a quarter acre. It's a little lot, but I'm so full of animals as it is. I might as well try to make a few dollars, because right now Ashura is propping up the whole human regime, and she does well with it. I mean, we are more than fine living in a budget tight, environment. That's what we've always done, But I again would like to be able to. I'd like to be able to fill the kitty up so I can actually start going places as well, because that's another thing. Like, when you're living on such a small income stream as we do, I'm not able to go out and visit, Jacob's tent. I'm really not even able to go out and visit, Rabbi Steve in Clearwater. And I like to, like, all these places. Like, I actually had an idea, but I don't even know how that idea would work. When my daughter goes off to college, I've signed one more lease where I'm at today. And then after that, we were planning on buying a house in Arkansas. But again, right, getting into the beast system, having to finance a home, like, this is presenting these challenges again, and that's what I mean. I don't want to go back into the beast system and then go into a debt for something. I mean, I'm God Almighty, but at the same time, I got to make moves and I've got to do something. So, I don't know, maybe, if somebody has an old used RV or something to that effect, maybe I could, oh, there goes my woodpecker. He's a big one too. I got a huge woodpecker. He loves this tree right out there. But I was thinking maybe an RV, and have it by before the spring of next year of 26. And that way, when my lease is up, me, Ashura, and Cameron, King Cam, can go into the RV. He can homeschool. I mean, I teach him best anyway. Homeschool King Cam, and then start traveling around the country and meeting congregations. and that's something I think would be good to kick off, to officially kick off the second Exodus, and then maybe even get a caravan. Not expecting the whole congregation to uproot and follow me, but I think that some that would be able to do that, I think that would be that could really get the wheels going. So I'd like to hear in some of your messages, bring some of these things up, run them by your congregations. Let's see kind of what their thoughts are. But maybe that could be a faster short-term goal, because I want to have FaceTime with everybody. I want to be able to show up at congregations. I want to be able to heal. I want to be able to work miracles for congregations directly. And that's the thing. I can even work financial miracles for people, but I cannot work them myself because I am my own witness. So it's not in line with purpose, but it's also checks and balances to ensure that I don't become so secular in my purpose. See, my purpose is tied in with everybody else. So everything I do essentially is for my church, is for my kingdom, is for the benefit of earth, for the kingdoms of earth, for even man's kingdoms on earth. So if I do something, I have to essentially have a purpose tied in with it. So it all goes hand in hand. But anyway, I hope everybody has a great Monday. I've got kind of a busy plate myself, stuff to do. I will try to either come back with a video maybe later or maybe overnight. I've got some judgments I'm going to be throwing down this week. So I typically sign all my judgments, just so you guys know my pattern too. Saturday night, I typically ascend upwards in heaven from about 9 p.m. to about 5 a.m. So I'm upstairs, I'm signing decrees, I'm running numbers, and I'm also seeing things through. So what that looks like, if I were to give you a visual, is when I go upstairs, I usually have a ton of decrees on the desk that are pre-signed, right? But they need an authorization. So I look them over, and basically it's like, okay. Some of them I'll modify, because I told you I try to operate with 100% success of not overcoming anybody in the true church. So as the true church gets bigger, I'm hoping the number, that there'll be more safety in numbers, is what I mean, going forward, versus right now where I'm like, okay, I've literally got like two people in the true church in this particular place, but all around them, I'm at 98% demons, but I've only got 2 of these people in my true church. And as much as I would love to take out that whole area, just get a fire going and let it run. Add the wind, get it going, and bam, like mission accomplished. But I won't do it for those 2, you see. As, same thing, think of olden days, right? I will spare areas where there are my elect and my chosen. Or I will spare areas that my elect and my chosen have asked me for people that they are working. But I will give you this warning, guys, is if you're those 2 in the middle of these demonic societies, and it, like, you need to be tight with your church. You guys should be getting so close with your church that it's your first family. Like, that's what it needs to be, is your first family, because you want to be able to have an outcome that is, as long as I know my God, I know He's here, He's for me, I know His churches because He's telling me where to go to have fellowship, He's telling me where to get the written word, to learn Torah, to learn about me, God, then you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. And as long as you have that going forward, you don't have to worry about death. You do not have to worry about anything. You still got to worry about man's BS in the world. Like, there's nothing I can do about that. At least right now. When the New Earth State officially kicks in, then a lot of the issues we have are going to instantly gone. They're going to be gone away, because I will have a better government, a better governing system, and it's not even a democratic one, it's a holy one. Meaning that we're not going to rely upon mankind's mind power or even the skilled hands of man. I mean, for some things like temple construction, things like that. But I mean, the death in the world, the evil in the world, the wicked in the world, like all things that are against holiness. They're against creation. They're against life. They're against me, Yahweh Elohim, YAHUWAH. Like all things that are against that, I'm going to be putting them under the floorboards. Because guys, you're praying, you know, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Well, I'm trying to get that going. That's the prayer. Why is that the prayer? Because it's a big job. And I can do it alone, or I can do it with a family. That's why this time is so special. That's why this time is, it's literally being written as we go every day. So, you know, who wants to be basically in the Bible that's going to be handed to the new earth state, the children that are going to be born in that time, right? Imagine the children that are going to be first baptized by the hand of God. The same God that created them in heaven and put them down into the womb of mothers will be the same God that christens them, baptizes them, right? Also the same God that, you know, I'd love to have, you know, bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs at the temple almost on a constant basis. Like, I want everything that involves family and me, the one true God. I want to be involved in all aspects of this, not in a bad way, but as a family way. I want people to have their human experience fully understood. That way you have true freedom. That way your life is full of discovery and adventure and knowledge and piousness, and every night you go to bed, you get to rest your head thinking, wow, like what a day. Like what an amazing day. How much better could tomorrow be? That's the feeling I want every one of my people to have. And I know it's hard to see that right now because the night is getting darker, and it is going to be darkest before the dawn. And again, I told you this, I'm holding back a lot of stuff right now. I'm trying to do controlled burns. I'm trying to do a lot of stuff to get my point across. But the main goal right now is I need my numbers to come up. I need people to get with the program. And we need to get that sin under control. My true church, I think, for the most part, we've gotten that we've gotten that under control. So awesome job, all of you. Everyone in the true church has gotten that under control, and we're getting the Torah learning under control, because Torah really is where it's at. All my teachings are Torah based. All my teachings are, and I'll continue to teach. And that's the thing. Life is one big teaching moment, because if you take the lesson that you're learning here, it doesn't stop there. No teaching has a true end, because by the time you've gone through the entire wheel of teaching, you yourself then become a teacher, and then you yourself, right, will begin teaching others. And everything that happens in the micro happens in the macro, and it flips vice versa. Everything that happens in the macro happens in the micro. So when you end up in the realms and in heaven, and you're, given a purpose to work with humans on earth, now you're assisting like Michael or Gabriel or Raphael, right? All these angels work with mankind. That's what the future of a lot of my saints, right? That's your future. But that does not denote the time that we're going to be on earth. And for some that, maybe earth is just where you're more comfortable. And if that's the case, then that's what you're going to get. So I'm saying it isn't like there's only one road. The road is very narrow and very dangerous to get to me. Once you get to me, you've gotten to the glory. Now it's like, okay, I'm going to take the spoke wheel, which is God, me, and all things come out from there. So as long as I'm the one sending you out, and I'm the spirit you're working with, and I am the God you're bringing others to, you're within my purpose, and thus all things are possible. That's where I can move mountains. I can do many, many, many great and mighty things that you know not. And I look forward to doing them all for you. So, sorry I went over. But again, I hope everyone has a great Monday. I love you all. Great job. And I will be on tomorrow. Or actually, I may not be on tomorrow. I got to take a trip down to Tampa. So, we'll see. We'll see how tomorrow goes. But I'll try to make it. We'll see. All right, love you guys. Have a good day. Bye.